Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints, our weekly get-together. We talk about the last week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown. Joining me today is David Smith. Tonight, we have an abbreviated bit of news. We have some Watch Dogs 2 stuff we want to talk about. We want to discuss PlayStation 3's 10th anniversary. It's been a very long road for that console, which started off as kind of a failure and is now where it is today. But first, before we get into any of that, I kind of want to bring up, and I admit I'm a little bit late to the party on this one, but I want to bring up the fact that I've been playing World of Warcraft a lot lately, specifically Legion. I finally got into the Legion content, and as I've been going through that, I have noticed how much that game has improved from vanilla days. I leveled a character from 0 to 100 currently, so I get to see all the old vanilla stuff. Then I get to see Burning Crusade, and then Lich King, Mist of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, and every expansion pack, love it or hate the story to it, always added something mechanically to it that was a nice improvement, and visually just looks significantly better with each iteration of it. And I didn't realize fully how much that game has come along until I actually sat down and looked at all this combined within the course of a week or so.
I mean, you could just look at the old photos and see some of the comparisons of what that game looked like at launch and what it looks like now, and it's obviously come a long fucking way. But I am fortunate enough to say that I'm one of those guys that has managed to never play that game, and I have no intention of diving in because I know way too many people that have spent way too much time on that game. I mean, not to say that it's a bad thing. It's just I know for sure that I legitimately do not have the free time required for that kind of thing.
Oh, it's a time sink for damn sure.
It's just too big. I can't play games like that.
Absolutely. It is interesting. Like I said, it was just fascinating to see that how much that game has come along in the 12 years it's been. I think it's celebrating its 12th anniversary right now. But yeah, I
Pretty
just
good.
wanted to.
You know what I've been doing?
What's that?
Talking about old games that get better with age. I'm playing Pokemon.
Have you tried the new ones that come out?
Yeah, I picked up Sun.
Sun?
What, last week or whatever.
Is it more or less still Pokemon? Does it more or less play the exact same way?
Yeah, Pokemon's Pokemon.
Fair enough. I didn't know if
I
there was
mean,
anything different.
there's islands, there's new things. Things are shinier.
Now, we mentioned this briefly before we got the show. Did you get a chance to play that Pokemon Uranium, which is the fan-made Pokemon that got banhammered by Nintendo recently?
For like 2 seconds. One of my friends managed to get it before it was deleted forever, and I know you can technically maybe find it in some not legitimate sites,
Well,
which
nothing
are
is
just too
ever
risky.
killed fully on the internet.
Yeah, it's risky, and I understand it's cool, but honestly, for me, I was hyped up for Pokemon just from Pokemon Go because I did play that for what 3 weeks or however long that was cool.
Yeah, I was
And
in the
the
same boat.
biggest takeaway from that game, or ARG or whatever the hell you want to call it, is not necessarily that it was a great game or it was a great app, or I mean, Niantic made a whole bunch of money on it, which good for them. But for me, it drummed up a bunch of hype about the new Pokemon, so I was anxiously awaiting for Sun and Moon to come out pretty much since Pokemon Go. So yeah, I've been playing the hell out of that. It's fun.
Good times. If you're just joining us, this is GamePoints episode 69. We do stream live on Twitch every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. If you're watching us on our YouTube page, feel free to like, comment, subscribe down below. But if you are watching us live, please ask questions, any topics you want to bring up, anything you want to mention, pop it in the chat. We try to get to you as soon as we can. Keep in mind the delay. It can kind of make conversation a little bit tricky. But
The
without
big
further
thing is the jokes will fall flat.
yeah, absolutely. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the first topic of the week, and that is
Something we continually drag through the mud, but to be fair, it's not our fault. You all did it first.
yes.
So
I want to say first off, let's not read too much into this, but the headline is too juicy to pass up. This comes from iDigital Times, and the headline is "No Man's Sky designer quietly leaves Hello Games to work on Star Citizen." Now, at first blush, this is two
well,
really troubled things getting together. I mean, I mean, if you're into games, if you know what both of these are, the headline does make fun of itself. Let me read the first paragraph of the article here before we start talking about it. No Man's Sky has faced a tortured development cycle and often compared to Star Citizen, and now the two controversial space projects are sharing employees. Longtime Hello Games designer Gareth Bourn signed on to Squadron 42 campaign developer Foundry 42 last month, according to his LinkedIn page. For No Man's Sky followers, this news might come off as yet another sign of Hello Games' inner turmoil. There have been rumors that the studio had been abandoned and that talented coders were leaving, but now we know only half of those claims are true. While it's not uncommon for developers to switch jobs after a project is complete, Bourne had been linked to Hello for nearly 6 years between Danger and No Man's Sky, a rockly, procedurally generated universe that seems like it wasn't enough to keep the loyalty going. First off, before we get into any of the fun stuff and speculation, let me just say right out, the article itself is kind of bullshit. They are singling out this poor guy, Gareth Bourn, I think it was Gareth Bourn, unfairly, in my opinion, to generate
the writer's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
Because
full disclosure, he's kind of being a dick. The whole thing is a little trite because, I mean, people leave companies and go to other companies all the time.
Yeah, this is
And
designed
hey, guess what?
deliberately to cause
If you happen to be good at a thing, or if you happen to enjoy working on a thing, say you like working on space games, or say you're a mechanic and you like working on stuff in general, your next job is probably going to be fairly similar to your old job, so it's not totally out of left field. The big thing, though, is he kind of goes in to really make fun of the fact that while No Man's Sky has had just tons of trouble, he more or less left a sinking ship for a sinking luxury cruise liner.
Yeah, that's the fun takeaway part here. Now let's get into the funny stuff here. I don't blame the developer at all, Bourn. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name.
Bourn.
That could
spelled
be
just like Bourne.
Yeah, it is spelled just like Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Didn't even piece that together.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you said it great. He is leaving one sinking ship for another. It's fun to poke at this headline. It's fun to say, oh, what a jackass decision he's making. Oh, I bet they're hiring quality people over at Star Citizen, internet so-and-so. But, yeah, let's just take a step back from the memery of this headline, the clickbaitiness of it, as it were, and realize there's no real story here. So why did I bring it up?
We're going to talk about it for 8 minutes.
I was going to say, why did I bring it up then? Because everyone else has, and I just want to kind of...
Yeah, this is the best part of the article, because while this guy is a little bit of a dick, this is kind of a nothing article. It's something that's a little tongue-in-cheek. He just made fun of a thing that happened. Congratulations. Welcome to every situational comic of all time. But one of the funny things about Star Citizen is the absurd loyalty of its fans for basically vaporware. I understand that there's modules and little alphas and shit you can pay $10,000 to play a little bit of right now. But guess what? It's still not a game. It's been in development for a really, really long time. And while I would absolutely love to see this game come out, and I would love to play it, especially with a huge crew of friends, if it turns out to be the space opera we all want it to be, currently we have no real proof of that. They keep adding additional modules. They keep doing all this stuff. But in the article, you can find several comments down below of a whole bunch of Star Citizen fans just tearing into this author, and that is my favorite part.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I will give my standard Star Citizen disclaimer. I want the game to be good. I don't want it to crash and burn. I want it to be the fucking best game ever created. I love that genre of game.
Yeah.
But I have no faith in it, and I know we've beaten this horse to death, and I can't stress it enough, but I mean, shit, what more can we really say about it? As far as I'm concerned, the game doesn't exist until it's out, and since we are on the topic of games that may or may not exist anymore, let's go ahead and go to our next news story, and that is, remember how last week we talked about there was that teaser trailer in Watch Dogs 2 of an unannounced Ubisoft game?
Yeah, it was a space game, which is weird because space games always come out great.
Yeah, we weren't sure if it was fake or real or what. Well, according to sources who were speaking to Jason Schreier of Kotaku, that game actually does exist.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, Kotaku put up an article from Jason Schreier that says Ubisoft Watch Dogs 2 trailer is a real sci-fi game, but it's in trouble. The leaked Ubisoft trailer inside Watch Dogs 2 is for a real sci-fi game called, or codenamed, Pioneer, sources say. But Pioneer is running into trouble development and may be abandoned. It may not be announced. Hold on, let me start over again. I started reading 2 paragraphs there. But Pioneer is running into troubled development and may not be announced as soon as Ubisoft had originally planned, if it comes out at all. When Watch Dogs 2, which launched today, this was last week, included a mission in which your protagonist infiltrates this is all blah, blah, blah. Long story short, Jason Schreier was able to get a hold of 2 people from Ubisoft who said, yeah, the game's real. It's in major trouble right now. They decided to go on another path with it. And it's really fucking awkward that we put all this into the game only for them to have to change it around later. Because apparently, when this was added into the game, it was supposed to be a cool little, hey, here's our next project. And now
it's making a whole bunch of people really awkward.
Now, I don't know
like
why they couldn't just go and take it out.
Yeah, it's already in there. They needed something. What else are they going to put in it? A bunch of YouTube videos?
No idea. Now, keep in mind, this is technically a rumor. They are anonymous sources speaking, but I know we've had this conversation before, too. Love or hate Kotaku, Jason Schreier knows what he's fucking doing when it comes to reporting the news, and this would not be the first, nor second, nor even third, I believe, time he has leaked out something from Ubisoft. The man has sources close to projects in that company. I don't know how he got them or who they are, but they tend to prove out to be accurate.
It's the janitor.
Yeah, it's the janitor. Or Yves Guillemot. It's like the CEO himself. He's like, fuck this company.
Turns out they were on the same Little League soccer team back in the day, so they're best friends.
So yeah, that space construction-y trailer that looked kind of scavenger-y. I don't want to say Cowboy Bebop-y, but
I was gonna say Homeworld-y.
Yeah, from some of the style on there, especially the way the trailers. If you look at our Homeworld trailers, sure. That is a real game, apparently. It just might not ever see the light of day, and if it does, who the fuck knows if it's going to look even close to what it was.
Man, that's weird. You never know Ubisoft to be in trouble.
Yeah, well, you'll think that, but they are in trouble with Watch Dogs 2 anyways, as far as sales go. Them and a whole bunch of other companies this year, it seems. Now, this topic comes from across both articles from IGN and Eurogamer. I'm going to pull up the Eurogamer one here first. And that is Watch Dogs 2 launch sells nowhere near Watch Dogs 1. Keep in mind, Eurogamer is a, European publication, so these numbers are going to be for the UK market.
Let's jump ahead of this article really fast, because while they are going to talk about Watch Dogs 2 and what it is, let's go back and talk about Watch Dogs 1 for a second.
Okay.
Because do you remember the original trailer for Watch Dogs 1? The one that it was the 10-minute video of the guy walking into the club and hacking people and going outside and hacking fence posts, and it looked fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, and it came out and it
blew
turned out to be
everyone's
like
mind, and everyone was super excited for this game. So it sold a bunch of copies, and then it turns out that game was shit.
I'm not going to say
unadulterated.
It was just boring.
Well, compared to what everyone had built up in their minds.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to say it was full No Man's Sky, but it definitely had some similar qualities in that it was released in a way that a lot of people weren't happy with it. So if you have that kind of game come out and then you start pushing for a sequel, chances are you've soured some of your early adopters and they're not going to pick it up, especially not immediately. I'm willing to bet that a lot of people that actually liked Watch Dogs might have picked it up, but the ones that were on the fence about it would more than likely just wait to see if Watch Dogs 2 gets cheaper or see how reviews are. So.
The Eurogamer article can be distilled down to essentially this. And once again, keep in mind, these are for UK numbers, but it's a good chance that North America will be following similar suit. Watch Dogs 2 launch sales are just less than 80,000 in the first week. Original Watch Dogs 2 launch sales were at an incredible 380,000 in the first week. That's 300,000 less buyers. That's what?
For the second game.
A quarter?
Yeah.
A quarter of the people bought it that bought the first. Now, knocked my microphone around. Now, Watch Dogs 2 was not nearly as hyped as Watch Dogs 1 was. Understandably so, given what you discussed earlier. But to show how troubling this is for Ubisoft, they actually released a rare statement on this, and that statement is as follows. We're incredibly happy with critics and players' very positive reception of Watch Dogs 2, which should bolster the support for long-term success of the game. It's true that first day and first week sales for a number of big games, including Watch Dogs 2's and titles for our competitors, are comparatively lower than previous versions of previous years. However, we expect both Week 2 and Week 3 sales to be above traditional sales patterns. There is also a trend towards games, especially high-quality games, having stronger and longer tales as favorable reviews and word of mouth spread. Watch Dogs 2 is already considered a tremendous addition to the open world action adventure series, and we're confident that millions of players are going to love it. End statement. The fact that Ubisoft actually came out and said something like this rather than staying silent on it means that they know something's wrong with this game as far as sales go. And it joins the likes of Titanfall, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which sold very well from what I hear, but still nowhere near as much as Black Ops 3, and a whole bunch of other AAA games this year that just aren't hitting their sales expectations.
Well, to be fair, the market is pretty damn saturated at this point.
So, absolutely.
Like, it's really tough to break in, especially if you're going to try and make a full AAA game that's $60, when there's a lot of games that are just as good that you can play for much cheaper.
Well, not only the cheaper side of things, let's say you have all the money in the world, you just don't have the fucking time to play all this shit.
Oh, yeah.
Because the sad fact of the matter is, Watch Dogs 2, from what I hear, way better than the first one. It's a good game from what people are saying. It's the exact same thing with Titanfall, to where it's a great game, but fuck if you have time to play it.
Yeah, I picked a shooter, and I picked Battlefield, so that's the shooter that I'm playing.
So
that, Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm and other things that Blizzard makes that aren't Warcraft.
Yeah, oddly enough, Blizzard has had most of my attention the past month or so, and I could not tell you why. But
because it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, not to jump on the the Blizzard circle jerk here, but I've played through Diablo 3 again. I'm going through World of Warcraft. Overwatch, I hop on at least once a day. Fuck, I'm even looking at Heroes of the Storm again. And hell, I'm starting to play Hearthstone.
That's funny. I don't do that.
But yeah, it's a shame that Watch Dogs 2 is not doing as well as the first one, because I'm told this is actually a really good game. Ubisoft went the smarter route with it by not hyping up what they can't deliver. I like the fact that it's far more irreverent than the first one. Aiden Pierce, who was the protagonist of the first game, was fucking boring and just utterly unlikable, even with his iconic baseball cap, as they kept trying to ram down our throats. I put about 20 hours into the first Watch Dogs, which is a lot of time, and I didn't even get all that far into it. And eventually I kind of went, this is boring. Why am I doing this?
That's fair. But I mean, it's the same conversation we had about Titanfall 2 a week ago. It launched in a very kind of rocky season where there's a lot of crazy stuff coming out. It's a game that, while the original did well, doesn't have a huge cult following, and just it could potentially be soured by some of the people that didn't like the first game.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put like a bow on this pig, I guess the good news for us is, much like Titanfall 2, you'll see it be discounted for $30 real soon.
Sweet. I will look forward to playing this game summer of next year.
Yeah, I think I'm in that same boat.
Mm-hmm. That's when I'll be looking at it. It's rough. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and the good news about playing it summer of next year is that Zelda won't be around to knock it out of the park, so you'll have plenty of time to do it. There is a rumor going around that Zelda is not even going to be a launch title for the Switch.
I fully believe that.
Now, this rumor comes via Emily Rogers on her personal blog. Now, if you don't know who Emily Rogers is, because you're not fucking way deep into gaming news and rumors and shit, Emily Rogers is a highly trusted source when it comes to Nintendo stuff. She doesn't work for them directly, but she has leaked a lot of information. Usually, if she says it, it's probably true. Though I will also give the caveat that everything you're about to hear here is all rumor and speculation, so don't take this as gospel. But given her track record, it's extremely likely. This is posted on her personal blogger, KGirl64. Rumor: Breath of the Wild will not be released in March. Breath of the Wild is one of the largest games, if not the largest, that Nintendo has ever developed. It's probably larger than Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Wind Waker combined. Keep in mind the caveats and the
we get
there.
It. Just
probably larger, might be, so we're not sure on this. Anyways, Emily Rogers says that in early September, she heard rumblings that localization for the game was becoming more work than anyone anticipated. They had to localize all the game's text, NPCs, quests, etc. Then, around October, she received another update that Zelda's localization is still not going as smoothly as planned. A very ambitious game, maybe even too much, claimed one particular source. The article then goes on to talk about how people kept going, oh shit, we've bitten off way more than we can chew here. And it sounds like it's going to be extremely unlikely it's going to hit Switch's launch date, which is disastrous for Nintendo because for the most part, they were, I don't want to say they were pushing the Switch to be launched with Zelda, but since they won't give any information about the fucking Switch, the
We
media
have
kind of filled in
nothing
the
to look
blanks.
forward to. They announced this super cool Zelda game that plays on both the Wii U and the Switch. They announced that the Switch version will be much better, and then you get nothing. So we have no idea what's actually coming out on this console that's showing up in just a couple months. Fuck
So,
Nintendo.
why am I even bringing this up? Because it's rumor. I'm bringing this up because this once again highlights the danger of letting the message get away from you. When you
Because
don't,
Nintendo is doing nothing to actually control their own hype machine. They're doing
absolutely not.
nothing to give the media any information, which means the rumor is going to run wild. People are going to hear the stories that they hear, and depending on the source they hear it from, a lot of people will just believe it offhand. And if that news isn't good news, guess what, Nintendo? You fucked yourself by not telling people what's actually happening.
Make no mistake, Emily Rogers is big enough that when she says something, people take it as gospel. Uh, I am a little bit more reserved in that judgment. I have seen her be wrong on some things before, but she has a pretty goddamn good track record. Better than mine is, anyways, when it comes to predicting shit. So,
See, I think it's true just because I think the Switch is going to fail because I think it's trash.
fair enough.
I would,
I know you're not a fan
I
of it.
would,
I
I
think
would
you've become less of a fan as
absolutely.
the weeks go on.
I'm absolutely. The less I know about it, because it's not the more I know about it, because I ain't fucking learning shit. The less I know about the console, the more I dislike it. Which is upsetting because I would love for Nintendo to just show up and knock it out of the park, and this thing be the fucking killer console that everyone needs on their shelf
Yeah,
going
that's fair.
into spring and summer. I would love that. I would love to
Much
do
like
that.
Star Citizen, I want this to be good. I absolutely want this to be good.
This one though, I am almost positive won't be.
Well,
I
we'll
just,
see how that shakes out.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what it's for. I still don't know what the hell it's for.
Yeah, but Zelda getting delayed or not being at Switch launch is definitely not good for it. It. I mean, what more can I say on that? It's not good. But I would rather a game be delayed and come out good than rushed and be bad. So delays aren't necessarily always a bad thing, except in the case of this one, which is infuriating me, and that is that Persona 5 has been fucking delayed. I don't want to say again, but it feels like again. Directly from John Harden, who is one of the PR folks at Atlas on the PlayStation blog, Persona 5 launching April 4th, 2017 will feature dual audio for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. The article goes on to say, brace
Which is
yourselves.
pretty cool. People are
Persona
excited.
5 is now launching April 4th, 2017. I know it stings, but Persona 5 set the gold standard for Atlas with its launch in Japan, and we wanted to put the utmost care into ensuring it winds up the best when it launches in the West. And this is a very special we have some exceedingly good news for you in light of this delay. Persona 5 will have dual audio for both PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. I love Persona. I'm not going to lie. Persona 3 was awesome. Persona 4 is one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time. It's definitely in my top 10 list of role-playing games as far as the Golden Age goes. I am upset to see Persona 5 getting delayed. Especially upset since I really don't care about dual audio myself, though I know a lot of people are into it. But I would rather have a game delayed and get extra polished than be rushed out like I just said.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess then the only option you'll have to play this game before April is if you're going to the PlayStation Experience in Anaheim in December. They did mention they will have a playable demo of this game.
Yes, in English. I know it's been released in Japan for a while. That's what really pissing me off. This game is in Japan already. So they're not really going to add any extra polish to the gameplay itself. I don't know if it's localization issues. I don't know.
You gotta remember,
what's going on.
Localizing is hard. We literally just talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Localizing is hard. It's just frustrating. I hate it when a game.
Yeah, I know you've been stoked for this game for a while, so I get that you're upset. I like the Persona series, but I can wait because the big thing to think of is what else are you going to be playing in April? Nothing.
I'd have to look at the calendar. I can't think of anything else in April coming up though.
Like just yeah.
Anyways,
it's a good window.
yeah, I mean it's all. That's when the Dying Light came out around then, I think. But Persona 5 is big enough to where it's just gonna. I don't want to say suck the oxygen. It's not a Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, but it is definitely big enough to make other games kind of go, I might not release up against that. But
Yeah, which is funny because remember years ago when Atlas was this tiny company that just localized weird little Japanese games.
yeah, and they still kind of are. It's just will Japanese
Yeah.
games have gotten bigger in popularity.
Yep.
So that's next
Well,
year. We got something coming
what
up
about?
a little bit closer though.
I was gonna say, what about this year? I like
Yeah.
this year.
This is coming out later in December, I believe, and that is Space Hulk Deathwing. And the PR team for that game just released 17 minutes of the first-person campaign, or the single-player campaign.
Oh yeah,
What do you
it
think,
looks
David?
fantastic. I'm so excited.
Let's get your thoughts here. What do you think
So,
about it?
so the big thing is if you've played Vermintide, then you have an idea of kind of the visuals that this game could look like. Because I think Vermintide looks great. But this is 40K. This is, the space opera, dark gothic, super sci-fi fighting demons storyline, where you're gonna play as my favorite chapter. You're gonna get a bunch of super cool weapons, and it's kind of Left 4 Dead, but I'm thinking a little bit more terrifying just because of what you're fighting. Um, I am always a big fan of co-op games that, like I said, with a bunch of friends and play with, and I will put a shit ton of hours in this game when it comes out. I've been anxiously awaiting this kind of all summer. As soon as I saw the first trailer, I was hyped. As soon as I saw the weapons trailer that had the song that nobody but me liked, I was hyped. I can't wait to play this game. I'm gonna run around with a heavy flamer all day. That's what's up.
Uh, yeah, I'm in agreement. I like Vermintide quite a bit. I'm eager to see the 40K version of what I assume would play like Vermintide. It definitely looks like it. That 17 minutes is kind of rough if you go online and look at it. It does have a few problems. Visually, it looks fine. The gameplay looks all right, but there's like a bunch of audio glitches where they're repeating the same line over and over and over again. They did say they're aware of that and they're looking to fix it
Left
for
4
launch.
Dead, to be fair.
Yeah.
Bill's here.
But yeah, that should come out early December, I believe. Last time I checked, I'm sure
I think
both
it's
of us
December
will be
6th.
playing that. I
It's
might
either
actually
6th
have to
or the
stream
9th.
some of that.
Dude, I'll stream it. What's up? We'll
Yeah,
stream it together.
it's,
It'll be great.
Four-player
GamePoints presents.
asynchronous Left 4 Dead style. You get in a giant fucking suit of armor and bash the shit out of aliens. This makes me really wish that a company that could be trusted would do a Colonial Marines game in this style.
That would be sweet. I mean, we're not going to see it because that license is not crazy popular.
No, well, the Aliens license itself is very popular. It's just
No, I mean, I don't mean the brand of it, but I'm specifically mean games that touch that license tend to leave a sour taste.
yeah. They did.
While there
good.
are a couple of exceptions, more often than not, the games are challenged.
The most recent one, Alien Isolation, was excellent. I kind of hope Creative Assembly does an Alien Isolation 2. But for every Alien Isolation, there's like 10 Colonial Marines. So
yep,
it's not good.
So,
anyways, next topic.
All right.
Final Fantasy 15 to have a day one patch. Why the fuck am I reporting that Final Fantasy 15 is having a day one patch? Well,
because it's hilarious.
Yes.
Remember that time we talked about how Final Fantasy 15 was going to come out this year?
Yeah.
Remember we had this conversation back in March or April of this year. We talked about it and we said, what are the odds that they've announced this date? What are the odds this shit's actually going to happen? And I'm fairly positive if you go back and watch that video, you can find both of us saying, no fucking way is this shit coming out this year. And that's hilarious because then they decided to delay it and people were mad, but they're like, you know what? As long as it comes out and it's great, then we'll still be excited for it. And like, yeah, the big thing is we don't want to release this game while needing a bunch of fixes and a big day one patch.
That was the excuse they gave when they delayed it from September 30th to November 30th. They did not want to add a day one patch.
Yep. And yeah, turn around and here we are closer to when that game is actually coming out. And we get a giant day one patch.
Oh, what did you need the time for then? But anyways, this article comes via GameSpot. Let me bring up.
And they got to build all the DLC into it, don't you know?
Yeah, I guess. Final Fantasy 15's Day 1 patch update detailed. The stuff they are adding does sound kind of cool. The patch notes for the patch are as follows. New event scenes and scenes from Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 15, and the Omen trailer have been added to the game to make the story and timeline of the events within Final Fantasy 15 universe easier to follow for newcomers. Essentially, Kingsglaive is the CG movie that stars Sean Bean and Lena Headey and Aaron Paul. If you like Advent Children, you'll probably like this. I'm not going to say it's high cinema by any means, but it was entertaining. They're adding some more recipes, more fishing things on there, a bit of social media implementations, including uploading pictures one of the people can take onto Facebook and Twitter, camera and tracking abilities, which I figure would be fucking priority in a game like this, that you would want your camera lock-on system to work. And a couple other things on here, but yeah, it sounds like they're mainly just adding some extra story scenes into it.
Can we talk about something then really fast?
Yeah.
Because while this is also rumor, and don't take my word for it, but early speculation weighs that little day 1 patch that they weren't going to push the game for, but then they had to push the game so they didn't have it at 7.5 gigs.
I would say that's bad, but honestly, that's fucking reasonable these days. It's still unacceptable, but
it's just, it's stupid.
That's because of the CG scenes they're putting in.
I know it's got to be all HD. You're getting like a Blu-ray movie, but come on, man. I gotta wait my computer to download 8 gigs before I can play this game I just bought. That's bullshit.
I do want, the people who complain about PC gaming being difficult, about how you have to update shit and everything like that, those excuses are long gone, because your console games have to do the same fucking thing. I turned on my PlayStation 4 yesterday to play Binding of Isaac, and I had to wait for a 20-minute update to the system itself.
Dude, I turned on the PS3 the other day to watch Netflix, and I had to wait for that shit to update. First, the PlayStation updated, which is a pain in the ass and super annoying, and then fucking Netflix had to update. I was trying to watch Scrubs, man.
I'm fully aware these are first world problems, but fucking let us have them in this case. Consoles are supposed to be where you go to get away from the hassles of the PC shit.
Man, the only way you could do that is if you got some kind of retro console that played some old school games, that didn't have loading time, you didn't have all these stupid updates. Maybe they just had a set number of cool games on it already.
Yeah, that'd be amazing if you could find one of those in stores, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the company that made that's a bunch of idiots.
You know what we should do one day? Just a side topic for a topic of the week is
build our own classic NESs with Raspberry Pis and then sell them for $57 and make more money than Nintendo.
More like what we would like to see, like what would be our Super Nintendo Classic Console, or what would be our PlayStation Classic Console, and make a list of 30 games we'd like to see on that. 30
That's
games
fair.
that we feel define what that system is.
I like that. 30 defining games with at least
sometime later.
2 bullshit games required. You have to have 2 oddballs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm throwing that rule out there.
Like, I mean, they're to go with the Super Nintendo one, not to immediately start making this list right now, but there would be shit on there that both of us might not necessarily like, but is important to have on there. For example, Super Nintendo would have to have Pilot Wings on there. Neither one of us might like Pilot Wings. I kind of do, but it's important to have.
It's gonna have Super Castlevania 4 on it for fucking sure.
Yeah, ActRaiser. Anyways, that's not the time for that. What the time is for now? What now the time for is? What for now the time is?
For now the time is.
Time for the
regular stories. Let's talk about Blizzard again, because we can't get off that topic.
Nope. We're going to talk about this Resident Evil 7 Collector's Edition first.
Oh, cool. I got a break.
Now, the GamePoints mantra still holds true. Don't pre-order.
Don't pre-order.
But there is an exception to that rule, and that's for physical media. Now, in the case of collector's editions, I usually say don't pre-order anyways, because you'll be able to find that at Fry's for $20, and this is no exception to that. Don't pre-order this, but I'm going to mention it because I think it's fucking cool, and I think this collector's edition definitely looks awesome. And it is for the upcoming Resident Evil 7, and this is at the GameStop website, and their collector's edition is nifty. It comes with a full-on replica of the mansion that's found in the demo that serves also as a music box, an old VHS case. I don't know what the case is used for. I kind of hope it's just a case for a VHS tape and nothing else. It comes with a finger USB drive, which is relevant to the demo, and a whole bunch of little extra tchotchke stuff.
Mhm.
I don't have price or anything listed on here because honestly, I don't care
It's
about it.
$179.99.
Thank you. I was just mainly interested in the fact that it comes with a mock-up of the house that's a music box. I like
No,
interesting
that's
collector's
pretty cool.
edition stuffs. I like the big whammy dine things, like when Dead Space did their collector's edition for the first one, and it had like all the fucking graphic novels and movies put in
Dude, it
there.
also has a cut-up finger USB drive.
Yes.
It's entertaining. But the big thing, though, one of the things I would like to point out about this,
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing about this collector's edition is they've actually announced the physical size of the house model, which is huge because it's 8 inches. I'm not saying the model is huge, but I'm saying that information is huge because it's 8 inches high, 7.5 inches long, 8 inches deep. So it's a decently sized model. That's also a music box that looks very cool. It also looks a lot like the house they straight up built at PAX.
Yeah. Well,
Which
that's the house that the Baker family lives in.
Yeah, so that's awesome. But for me, it makes it a little bit better because one of the things that I've talked about before when we talk about how bad pre-ordering is when everyone got super into all this physical trinkety crap you get with pre-orders. And people found ways to make it cheaper and cheaper and dumber and still get people to pay a bunch of money for it. The one I always go back to is the collector's edition of the first Assassin's Creed, which everyone knew was going to come in this super cool metal case and come with a statue of the main character. And then that statue was 3.5 inches tall, resin, and painted like shit.
It also reminds me of back to Dead Space. For Dead Space 2 Collector's Edition came with a replica plasma cutter, which was about that big and
Tiny.
also felt like shit.
Yeah. And that's when all this kind of went way downhill.
Yeah, that's why having the dimensions of this is so good.
Since then, we've had games come out with auto-tuning headsets and mini fridges, though, so maybe they're getting a little better at it.
I think one of the Call of Duties even had a drone one year. I'm not positive on that.
Sure it is.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I like cool Chotsky Collector's Edition stuff. I like the way that music box looks.
You don't need to pre-order it because they're going to make a whole bunch of them, and you can go pick it up at Fry's or Best Buy or whatever the day it comes out if you really, really want
it. And not only that, but if you don't have to have it right away, you can fucking buy it at a Fry's a year from now for $20, like all the Halo Collector's Editions and all the Blizzard Collector's Editions and fucking everything else. Fun fact, a friend of mine stocked up on a bunch of Fry's Collector's Editions for one of the Warcraft games. I don't remember which launch it was, because they had codes for pets in there that were at the time selling for more than the Collector's Edition was being discounted for. So he literally bought like 10 copies of the Collector's Edition, threw everything else away, and just resold the code.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, don't pre-order. Once again, we're just hammering that home. There's no need to pre-order this. There'll be plenty of copies for you. Don't give them an interest-free loan on a game that may or may not be great. That said, I'm looking forward to Resident Evil 7. I like that's PSVR enabled. I like that they're going back to the old school horror roots. I like that it seems like they're getting away from the super fucking wacky things that were happening in 5 and 6. We'll definitely see. Konami feels like they're going in the right direction on this, and I am cautiously optimistic that this is going to be great.
Did you just fucking say Konami?
I meant Capcom.
Ridiculous.
I totally meant Capcom. Mea culpa, Capcom. You are not Konami.
There you go. That's better. Like, man, don't put that evil on them, Ricky Bobby.
Next topic, and this one's a little bit sad. Back to what you were talking about with the Blizzard stuff. Overwatch First Strike has been canceled.
Damn it.
Now, if you don't know what Overwatch First Strike was, it was supposed to be a graphic novel set in the Overwatch universe that details the events of the Omnic Crisis. Essentially, it was going to be a prequel to what Overwatch is, and I was really wanting to know what happened then.
Yeah, this is the big thing. A lot of people are super into the lore for Overwatch, and one of the things is that most of the things we know about characters isn't even true. The characters and personalities of the people in Overwatch are more or less being created by the internet. So we've all been kind of waiting for that big piece of media for Blizzard to release that gives us the information we want to know. We want to know the history of Jack and how Gabriel went from a soldier to some crazy psycho that throws guns away and pulls new ones from ether. We want to know this information, and that was going to be in the first Strike novel. So hearing that it was canned, it's a bummer. Now, they do talk about the fact that they've kind of decided to take the story in a different direction just based on the videos and all the things that they've released since this announcement, because they announced this years ago, right? Like right around the time Overwatch was first being talked about.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to go in a different direction. So I'm willing to bet we're still going to get the backstory we want. It's just not going to be in this format, and this it just sounded really cool. I was really excited for it.
On the Blizzard forums, a post by Michael Chu, who is the lead writer on Overwatch, says the following. I wanted to let you know that we have decided to cancel the release of Overwatch First Strike graphic novel. While we are grateful to the team for the fantastic work they put into it, we've ultimately decided to take the story in a different direction. The original idea for the graphic novel dates back to the early days of the game's development and came from our desire to tell the story of the founding of the Overwatch during the Omnet Crisis. In the years since First Strike's conception, we have done a lot of development on the universe and its stories. While the core of the story remains, we have changed and expanded on how we see the events that took place during the first days of Overwatch. So yeah, they, like you said, it's a living story. They've changed it a lot since the foundation for this was set. And honestly, I don't even think we need a graphic novel to explain the setup to it anymore based on the Halloween event. Now, hear me out here. During Overwatch's Halloween event, they had a brawl that was essentially a cooperative fight. 4 people against Dr. Junkenstein. It was essentially a horde mode. You had to fight off all these waves of zombie omnics coming at you, and occasionally an AI-controlled hero would pop up. Hard as fuck if you played it on, like, the hardest difficulty. What I am thinking that they can do, and I think I've touched on this before in the past, is rather than release a graphic novel or any other extra medias, this week's brawl is the monkey revolt on the Moon Colony Horizon. So you'll play
and literally start building the story via
the brawl. Yeah.
Cool.
This week's brawl is the assassination of the Omnic leader that Widowmaker took out. So you would have like Widowmaker and you would have a brawl that would be Widowmaker and Reaper and Sombra and insert another hero here, trying to kill the target that 4 other people are trying to protect. And they would fill in the story plot through that.
I can see that. That'd be neat.
Yeah, incorporate the actual plot into the game itself rather than having us go off somewhere else and read it, because that's what fucking killed Destiny.
All right. There's a wizard on the moon. I feel what you're saying.
But yeah, it sucks that it's canceled, but I have hope that they will go in the direction that I mentioned they will. Who knows if they will actually do that or not, but I think that would definitely be cool. Anyways, that is neither here nor there at the moment. It's never coming out. We need to move on with our life. So to numb the pain of not having that, what can we play that's coming out this week, David?
New games?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I have almost no new games for you this week because it's almost December, and the rest of the big stuff's coming out after Black Friday. But if you're looking for some games that you maybe haven't played before, you can definitely pick up the Amnesia collection for PS4. But I would only recommend it if you want to get the crap scared out of you.
Yeah,
because the first Amnesia to me is still one of the scariest, more recent indie games. The ambiance is fantastic, the music is great, the setting is great. It's got cool set pieces, and more importantly, it's a true horror game in the sense that you have no ways to fight back. All you can do is run and hide. There's no picking up weapons. There's no shooting the monster. There's no leading him to some diabolical trap. No, you're a dude in a place and something's going to kill you unless you keep moving. And that is always the best kind of horror, at least for me, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm wearing headphones. Which is also why I recommend...
Weird.
I was going to say that's also why I haven't finished Amnesia, because I kept playing it at 2 in the morning with headphones on. Yeah, that collection is hitting for PS4. You have the first one and the second one. Go ahead and enjoy that. Now, if horror isn't your thing and you're sitting on a PS4, or say you have an Xbox, you can also pick up the Darksiders War Mastered Edition, which is
the same thing you played 50 times before, just
Yep,
Master
it
Edition.
is. It is the remastered version of. Uh, I don't even know. Darksiders 2, I think, is the one that had war in it.
All I know is that no one really cares about this franchise, but every year it feels like we get a remake of one of these games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's like the last big thing that THQ put out. So let's make sure that people are still playing this game that THQ is not making any money on. But bless be THQ Nordic, they're going to keep making money on that thing they bought. So that's cool. However, I would like to point out the fact that there is a collector's edition of Darksiders War Mastered that straight up comes with horse stables. Like an actual barn. You can buy an $83,000 version of this game.
Wait,
That
what?
comes with. Yeah, dude, it's like the Lamborghini Gallardo version of Saints Row 4. Like you can get Darksiders with a fucking horse stable.
That's fucking dumb. I'm not even gonna lie. That is the dumbest goddamn thing I've heard.
I don't actually think that's real, but it is an article I read and I thought it was hilarious, so I had to bring it up. Also, if you have anything that's not a PS4 and an Xbox One, or I guess one of those consoles, you can pick up the 4th episode of the Batman Telltale series, Guardian of Gotham. PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. So most of the things that aren't phones and aren't Nintendo products. Finally, if you have a PC or an Xbox One, you can pick up the DLC 2 Survival for The Division today. PS4 gets it in 30 days.
I
Just a little
love
bit
The
of a
Division for like 2 weeks.
time exclusive thing.
And they fucked that game so hard. Every time they released a patch, that game got progressively worse until I finally said to hell with this and stopped playing. But for a moment there, that game was excellent. It's just tragic to see what they've done to it. I haven't seen it lately. They could have fixed all the problems, but for a while there, it was just fucking broken, full of cheating and rampant hacking left and right, and just glitches and busted problems that were put in after the game launched. Think about that. They put in reverse patches on that game. Anyways, I'm sure that neither one of us could have done any better, though, because I know shit about coding and bug removal. But that's just a shame to see how that game went out.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
All right. That does it for new releases, I think. So let's go ahead and move on to the final segment of the show, and that is the topic of the week. And today's topic
Happy
is...
birthday!
Happy birthday to the PlayStation 3. You turned 10.
Yay!
Launched in North America November 17th in 2006.
You are now old enough to not be old enough to play most of the games on yourself.
Let's also not forget that it launched for the perfectly reasonable price point of $599.99. The same price point that was famously alluded to where you would get a second job to be able to afford it.
Yep.
This was at the height of Sony's hubris. This was them coming high off the hog after how well the PlayStation 2 did. And the market said, kiss my ass. Now.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you can't say that because PS3s were sold out everywhere at launch. They were gone. But that is partially by design and partially by a lack of paying attention. Now, when they first announced the PS3, it was supposed to be a simultaneous worldwide release coming out in Japan and the US, I think just a couple days apart in November. Unfortunately, they pushed the US release back because they didn't have enough parts to assemble the Blu-ray drive, because that's the big thing to remember with the PS3, is that it was the first console to actually have a Blu-ray drive built into it, which is one of the advantages the PS2 had, is it was a DVD player. So while $599 was completely absurd, it was actually at the time one of the cheapest damn Blu-ray players, which some people seem to forget. So it still did all right.
And with a launch lineup like this, people were only buying it as a Blu-ray player at the time. The games that came out the day the console launched were as follows. Call of Duty 3. This is a solid game. Call of Duty 3 was good. Genji Days of the Blade. Madden 07. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, a PS2 port I might add. Mobile Suit Gundam Crossfire. NBA 07. NBA 2K7. Need for Speed Stake. NHL 2K7.
Snake, it was Need for Speed Pardon.
No, it's Need for Speed Carbone.
Oh, you idiot.
Isn't that steak?
God damn it. All right. Resistance
Fall of
Fall of
Man,
Man.
Tiger Woods 07, Ridge Racer 7, Tony Hawk's Project 8, and Untold Legends Dark Kingdom. All of that, for
You
the most part, was
you
either a
have
port or
cleverly
sucked.
omitted one of the best ones ever.
What is that?
Blazing Angels, Squadrons of World War II.
Was that a launch title?
I'm actually pretty sure it was a launch
I don't
title.
think it was. I'm almost positive it was not a launch title.
All right. We'll Google it later, but you're probably right. You probably pulled yours from Wikipedia, and I pulled mine from my ass. Anyway,
it
did not come out with a whole lot of good shit.
Bad. Resistance was all right.
So it came out with a 60 gig hard drive. Yeah, you could store all kinds of games on that thing. That's awesome. It came out with 4 USB ports in the front. And here's the kicker. While it did play Blu-rays, which the only game console that could do it at the time, it played your PS3 games. It also played your PS2 games and your PS1 games.
Something that was not advertised.
The
was quickly
launch
removed
PS3,
in later consoles.
Yes, the launch PS3 was backwards compatible with every Sony game ever. So while the game did come out with a very lackluster 12 games, it actually launched with a library more in the thousands because of all of the great PS2 games it came out with.
Don't count that. That's like
Sorry,
saying,
I had to really channel my inner Sony rep from 10 years ago.
I think,
because if you remember a lot of the articles, a lot of people were talking like that. Well, yeah, we don't have too many titles right this second. We have a whole bunch of great games coming in the pipeline. But remember, you have this whole arsenal of PS2 games that you can play.
So
I remember people talking about that, and I always thought it was hilarious.
Here's the thing I want to bring up about the PlayStation 3. One, had an unusually long console cycle. 8 years. It was around for roughly 8 years in North America. Still being sold today in some countries. I think manufacturing officially stopped at the end of 2015. This was launched at the height of Sony's hubris, like I mentioned earlier, and they paid for it hard. Xbox 360 ate their lunch for the first few years. But somewhere along the way, Sony got their shit together. They pulled themselves off the ground. I thought this console was dead 2 years into the life of it. And they fucking turned it around and made Sony into a powerhouse when it comes to video gaming by the end of the PlayStation 3's life cycle. Like, at first, it was between 360 and PlayStation 3. I was a 360 guy, hands down. I was like, shit, all my stuff's going to be 360.
Well, it was also
that's where
if you wanted a new console, you could go to a store and you could buy a 360. If you were going to buy a PS3 back in the day, there was none because there was only 500,000 in the whole U.S. And while it wasn't the super outrageous sales, it still did well. It was sold out all the time. Now, the nice thing is they eventually caught up to demand and were able to actually start shipping PS3s, unlike another console manufacturer that remains idiotic to this day. So, they pulled ahead. But I think
your Engage.
But I still think one of the greatest things that Sony ever did for the PS3 is introduce a man named Kevin Butler.
Oh, yes.
How could we talk about this great console without bringing up Kevin Butler?
Kevin Butler was a fictional CEO that was in charge of a lot of their marketing. He was in a lot of their commercials as this irrelevant. I mean,
he would always be listed as the president of whatever, the president of interactive experiences, or the president of getting sideways around corners, or whatever game he was slinging. So that shit was funny.
Yeah, he was a creative marketing mascot. He was entertaining as hell, and then he went and did like this Nintendo commercial and got sued by Sony for breach of contract because of it.
Yep, and then we didn't have Kevin Butler anymore, and all was sad in the world.
But back to the point that I was trying to make. The PlayStation 3 had a very rough start, like an exceptionally rough start, getting trounced by the 360. But somewhere around the third or fourth year of its life, it started to turn things around. Sony didn't just give up on it like I thought they were going to and just go right into the next console. They stuck with it. And fuck, the PlayStation 3 didn't have a massively improved finish compared to its start. When it gave us games like God of War 3, The Last of Us, Uncharted 1 was all right, it was good, but Uncharted 2 and 3 specifically were amazing. They were able to write the course of that ship. And it is...
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be the one that does it, but I would like to see someone actually gather all this information about how much trouble the PlayStation 3 was in at the beginning of its life compared to how successful it was by the end of it.
Yeah, it definitely interesting. It's really cool to kind of go back and look. I mean, it was only 10 years ago, so it doesn't seem forever. Maybe I'm old. Who knows?
Maybe.
But
Nico, welcome
you
to
know,
the chat, by the way.
the PS3 was a big deal, and I remember really, really wanting one, not being able to get one. I was also broke because I was younger at the time. And I didn't actually manage to pick one up until I think they were getting ready to release the second version of it, which was dropping down to 2 USB ports and, more importantly, losing backwards compatibility. I think that had just been announced. As soon as they said that, I said, nope, I can't wait anymore. And I rushed out to pick up a PS3 because, I mean, I had a huge library of PS2 games and PS1 games that I wanted to keep playing, and I wanted to just have one thing plugged in my TV, and the PS3 let me do that. So
I was in the exact same boat. When they said they're getting rid of backwards compatibilities, when I jumped on it and went, nope, I need to get one now. At that point, it was already dropped by, I want to say, $200 compared to its $599 price tag.
Mm-hmm. And then it turned out to be a flipping awesome console.
One
So
thing
again,
that I remember from that launch specifically, because I was working in a video game store at the time. During the 360 launch, a lot of people were excited to buy the 360, and they bought a lot of games along with it. They bought Call of Duty 2, which was an amazing looking game at the time. A lot of people were excited to play Cameo, despite the fact that Cameo was kind of, because it was Rare's first big title since they got bought up, I believe. The lines for the PlayStation 3, though, no one was buying it for the PlayStation 3. They were buying it to flip it.
Because you could sell it for a ton because there was no product. Now, again, that's one of those things. But at least they managed to catch up and actually get production. But those things were selling for like $1,000 on eBay.
Yeah, it was ridiculous how much those were selling for. But it's been a rough time for it. It started off a very troubled childhood, but it ended off very successfully for Sony. So, PlayStation 3, congratulations on your 10th birthday. May you sleep a long and glorious sleep. Because let's face it, it's in people's closets now.
At least until the PS3 2.
The 32?
No, the PS3 2.
Well, I don't know where you're going with this. I'm so fucking confused right now.
It's the PS6. It's a joke. It's a funny joke.
No,
I'm funny.
It's not a funny joke, man. You fucked it up. You've ruined my show, so we're going to stop right now.
I turned on a PS3 yesterday.
Yeah, no, we're done. You're done. You've ruined everything, so we're going to stop the show right now. This has been GamePoints, episode 69.
Fading to black.
Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us at the last second, sorry, but we're signing off right now, but we appreciate you watching what we did anyways. However, if you are watching us live or watching us over on YouTube, you can join us every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at twitch.tv/GamePoints. You can follow the show at GamePoints PC over on Twitter. You can follow us independently on there as well. I'm your host, Stephen Brown at CapitalistPig21. David over there is at Palchef_Satori.
And you can tell me how funny I am, because I know I am.
No, that was a bad joke. You can also go over and give us a like on Facebook and YouTube and all that other stuff if you want.
MySpace.
Yeah, we don't have a MySpace page, but who fucking cares?
I'm gonna make one right now.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Okay, this train wreck is over. We have been GamePoints, and we are out of here.